This
should have
conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so in the last class we were discussing about the controllers. So let me look at the cheat sheet or the notes that we have. Okay, the running notes. Okay, so we were discussing, if you remember, we were discussing about the runtime controllers, and after that we have discussed about few more controllers. Let's have a look at what are those. If you remember, can you remember anything, guys? Anything that you can remember from the last class that we were discussing? Okay. So after the runtime controller, we will discuss about the throughput controller. Name can be little confusing. It is not about the output, it is about the input, the throughput controller. Okay. Then once only controller, usually used for logins and those sort of things. And then the interleave controller. Okay. And then the random controller and the random order controller. So this is what we have discussed, guys. So in the last class, we have discussed about the all the way till random order controller. So I believe in the real world, this interleave controller and random controller will be very useful. Okay, so depending upon the kind of scenarios you are building and all that, but these two will be very handy. If I have to tell you with my experience, yeah, these two. If you know how to use these two controllers, lot of programming will be saved. Okay, lot of programming will be saved. So now today we'll get into the switch controller, guys. Okay, switch controller. If you know C programming, you would have used this function called switch before. So the switch controller exactly works like that. Okay, but don't worry about all that. So we will go ahead and speak about the switch controller. Again, these are like really rarely used controllers, guys. So I don't want it to spend too much time explaining these things. I'm going through all this because in the interviews they will give you a situation and they ask you like, how do you handle that situation? So most of the situations that they give you in the interviews, you could handle through one of these controllers. So that is the reason why I'm going through all this. Okay, and yeah, in the real world also, to certain extent, all this will be handy as well. Okay, so that's the reasons why we are going through these controllers. So how does the switch controller actually work? Okay, so let's go through the notes here. So you see, so it is analogous to the switch or the case programming construct. The switch controller executes only one of the child, okay, only one of the child elements after matching the element's name with the configured switch value. If the switch value is an integer, it executes the child element based on the sequence number, okay, based on the sequence number. So let me explain it to you like this. Okay, so let me bring up the script. I think this is the script that I'm working on. No, this is not the script. Let me see, what was the script? Any of you can remember what was the script that was I playing around in the last class, guys? Or where did I save it, or any idea as to what was? I mean, we have recorded quite some stuff into it, so I don't want it to lose that. Okay, anybody remember the name of the script, guys, that we were playing around yesterday? It was supposed to open. When I say open recent, weird. Okay, so let me say, if I say anything new and then try to save it, let me say, where did I save? Where does this save? Okay, it goes into the class. So this is not the path. Okay, so we spent a lot of time yesterday, creating that script, so I don't want it to lose it. Or maybe I was not using this version at all. Okay, if I was using some other, I think it was the same version, 5.2.1. Anybody could remember the name of the script, guys? It is class 4 script. No, we have recorded one script yesterday, right? I think we never bothered to save that script. Is that what it is? The class 4 script is not the one. So I think we never bothered to save that script, unfortunately. Okay, so never mind, go to the templates. Okay, go to recording, create a template. Okay, so now go to the settings, quickly change the proxy settings. Okay, go ahead and record it. So demo kicker, and then click on sign in, then go ahead, log in, and then fish, product ID, add to cart, checkout, continue, confirm, and then log out. Stop recording. Hopefully everything got recorded. Yeah, everything got recorded into this one, and then everything has been placed into the transaction controllers. Okay, so good, not an issue. This should be actually, this is click, this should be login, to be honest. Okay, let me call this as login. Fish product ID, checkout, continue, logout. Okay, wonderful. So everything has been arranged as per our need. Okay, so everything has been ordered, put into the transaction controllers as well. Okay, wonderful. The logout, both the samplers are here, and then login, both the samplers are in this controller. Okay, so this is all been arranged the way we wanted. Now let's talk about the switch controller. Okay, so for whatever the reason, let's assume, okay, let me copy all of this. Okay, let me create a simple controller and move it into the simple controller. Okay, and here I don't need this one, clear all of this and move this one down. Okay, so now, okay, switch controller. With this kind of program, I'll not be able to demonstrate a switch controller. Okay, so for demonstrating the switch controller, probably I'll be playing around. Okay, so maybe for me, I'll create one more simple controller so that I will not mess this script. Okay, so I'll move all these samplers into this switch controller. Okay, so I'll put this as a backup or something like that. Okay, okay, I'll put this as a backup and then disable it so that this is not affected. Okay, so I've disabled this one. Now I can play around, do whatever I want from this particular samplers here. Okay, so for the switch controller, maybe I need a scenario wherein let's say I have a fish, I have a dog, I have a something like that. Okay, so let's say till here it is login. Okay, so in this one, let's say there is one more simple controller. Okay, okay, and then here all the way here I'll move this one into this one, a simple controller, and here let's call this as an order fish or purchase fish. Okay, so purchase fish is over here. So this is the login, this is all purchase fish, and this is logout. Okay, So like we have purchase fish, let's say we have one more thing called purchase dog, and something like that is there. Okay, so now let's say there is one more simple controller here. Okay, so here I have purchase fish. Okay, now let's say this one. Okay, I moved all the samplers into this one. Okay, and then I'll put it over here. Okay, so even though it is fish, for just for our discussion purposes, let's say this is purchase dog. Okay, just for discussion purposes, let's say this is purchase dog, this is purchase fish, and this is purchase dog. Let me put the naming policy here. Okay, so naming policy, so this is purchase fish. Okay, and then this is purchase dog. Let's assume, apply the naming policy. Okay, so this is purchase fish and purchase dog. Let's say there is one more thing called purchase reptile is there. Okay, let's assume just like what we have done yesterday, guys. There's no changes here. Okay, so let's say there is purchase dog. Sorry, purchase something like that. A cat maybe. Okay, a purchase cat. Okay, so let me move the samplers. Let's assume this is for the purchase cat. We haven't recorded it, but just for a discussion purposes. Okay, let's assume these are all the samplers belonging to the purchase cat. Okay, this is for the dog, this is for the fish. Okay, actually in a real scenario, you would have to record everything for a dog and then put all the samplers related to dog over here, and record everything for a cat and put the samplers related to the cat inside this. Okay, that's what you would do in a real world. Okay, now okay, so you have a purchase fish. So this is all the login part, this is the logout part, purchase fish, purchase dog, and purchase cat. Okay, so depending on certain thing you wanted to select, you wanted to execute one of these. Okay, so what you would do is, let me add something called a switch controller over here. Let me add something called a switch controller. Okay, and let's see how this switch controller actually works. Okay, switch controller, very rarely used. Okay, but let's see how this works. Okay, so you see I moved everything into the switch controller. This purchase fish, purchase dog, and purchase cat, everything I moved it to the switch controller. If I want, I can simplify further this, and then maybe I can add one more simple controller. Okay, and move all this login related stuff into this and call this as login. Okay, maybe I can call this as login to simplify the script. Okay, so this is login. Okay, so in the login I have launch, I have click on sign in button and actually logging in, and then I can purchase a fish, dog, and cat, and then log out. Okay, so wonderful, guys. So I have a login, then I have a switch controller and logout. In the switch controller I have purchase fish, purchase dog, and purchase cat. Okay, now you see how the switch controller works. So if the switch value, I'll give it as, in the switch controller I'll give purchase fish. Now let's see what happens. Okay, so in the switch controller I have given purchase fish, switch value is purchase fish. Okay, now let's see what happens. Look at what's happening in the view results tree. Let me go ahead and execute this. Okay, now let's see what has happened. So launch has happened, click has happened, login has happened. So in launch there are two samplers, all the two samplers got executed. Okay, it has executed. Oh, maybe I'm running with multiple users. Let me see. Oh, it is executing with the same user. Okay, so launch has happened, click has happened, login has happened. Then you say purchase fish. Now let's see what has happened. So you see the purchase fish, the fish has been purchased, and then the logout part. Okay, so the login part. Okay, launch, login. Okay, then it has purchased the fish, and then it has logged out, Okay, so since in the switch value you said purchase fish, only one of them will execute here, guys. Only one of them will execute, and what needs to be executed, you have to give that in the switch controller. And what needs to be executed, you have to give that in the switch controller. Okay, are we clear, guys? Are you clear, folks, as to how the switch controller actually executes? Everybody, are we clear, guys? Or am I really fast? All I've done is created a script, okay, and then modify the script in such a way that it can purchase a fish, dog, and cat. Actually, honestly speaking, if the purchase dog actually purchases a fish as well, but I don't want it to record a purchase dog, so moved all the samplers from purchase fish to the dog and named it appropriately. Okay, so and then logged out. Now the switch controller, you have given one of them. Whatever you wanted to execute, you have to put that into the switch value so that it only executes it. So out of these three, in the switch controller, I have three options. One is fish, dog, and cat. So let's say I wanted to execute only fish. Just put purchase fish over here. It will execute only the purchase fish one. It will execute only the purchase fish. Okay. Are we clear, guys? Am I too fast? Are we clear? Okay. So guys, I want to hear from all of you. I just wanted to evaluate myself. Am I going? Can you type two switch values at the same time? I don't think so, Osman. I don't think so. That's how switch value works. Okay, so I'm not sure if you can give both the things, if it actually works. Okay, maybe I can give it a shot. Okay, uh, probably maybe I have to put a comma or something like that. I don't know, will it actually work? Okay, so if I go ahead and execute this one. No, it is not even going into the switch value. You see, I've given purchase fish, comma purchase dog. It has totally skipped. It has actually launched login and logged out. That's about it. So it's not even like going and executing anything in the switch controller. So I don't think you can give two values. Okay, I don't think you can give two values. If I give a space and then give that, I don't think even then it will work. So the switch controller is only to execute one of them. Okay, so it is not executing. You see, it is not going into the switch controller itself and not executing any of it. So it has to be one value. Okay, now let's say I wanted to purchase dog. Copy the controller name and then put it over here. Okay, and then it will be able to execute only the purchase dog. Okay, let me demonstrate that for you. Launch, login, and you see it is executing the purchase dog and then logging. It is executing the purchase dog and then logging out. Okay, so whatever you wanted to execute, you just have to give the name of that controller in the switch value, and it will handpick and it will execute only one of them. It will handpick and it will execute only one of them. So Kumar, if you have to give the name, sometimes when we are typing, we might go wrong. Okay, we might go wrong. Instead of capital T, we might put a small t, and it will never pick it. So copying the name and putting it over here is a little tedious task, and then it's typing that name of the controller or the sampler. Okay, you can put the name of the controller or the sampler as well. If you wanted to execute a particular sampler, you can give the name of the sampler as well, so it will go ahead and execute only one of them. So typing that particular the controller name or sampler name could be tedious. So is there an easier way to do it? Okay, so everything has an index. Okay, everything has an index. This is first, this is 2, this is 3. You can put just the index value, it will work fine. Okay, so let's say I wanted to execute purchase cat. So the index value will be, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. That's how the tool assigns it. So if you just give 3 over here, so it will execute. Either you can give purchase cat, or you can give the index value of it, which is 3. So it will execute just the third value. Oh, is it? Show it to me. Okay, don't worry. I'm going to show it to you. So you see, it is, is it purchase fish? It is executing purchase fish. It should be purchase cat, right? Launch, click login, and then it's executing the fish. Okay, what is the one? Okay, if I give the index value as switch value as 1, okay, so it's supposed to execute fish. Okay, it is executing the dog. Okay, so if I give, what did I give? 1. If I give 1, it is executing dog. Okay, if I give 2, okay, let me see what it executes. It's executing the cat. So this one index value, this has been 1. Oh, this is 0, could be 0, 1, 2. Okay, now I got it. Hang on, guys, 1 second. Okay, so if I give the switch, I mean the index value as 0, okay, Let me see what it takes. Okay. Okay, so it has taken the fish value. Now you see, I have given the index value as 0, the switch value as 0. So this seems to be 0. So it is executing. It is executing. Okay, so the first one, which is fish. Okay, as you can see, it is executing the first one, which is fish. So if I give the switch controller value as 1, okay, okay, the switch value as 1, so this is 0, this is 1. The expectation is it executes the dog. So let me go back and see that. Yeah, it is executing the dog. Okay, so the value, the switch value is actually, this is 1, this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, the index value 0 1 2. It is starting from 0, not 1. So this is 0 1 2, and if I give 3, it is going back to the first one. It's going back to the first one. Okay. So guys, are we clear? So not only the name, we can give just the index value. The index value seems to be starting from 0. Okay. Yes, you can handle it through the parameterization, Narendra. So I'm not going to demonstrate that now because I haven't shown you what is parameterization. Okay. So you can pass it through the parameterization and you can put the parameterization value over here. You can do that. Okay. So Raghu, if I give 3, as I've told you, it will come back and execute fish. So I'm going to show that to you. I'll give 3. Okay. So let me clean up all this and go ahead and execute this. So it will go back and execute the fish value. So 0, 1, 2, 3, again 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that's how it is. So if you give the value 4, okay. So if I give the value 4, so it will go back and take the dog. Oh, okay, okay. So anything more than 2, it is just executing the fish. Okay. So it is not like sequential. It is 0, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, and 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. It is executing only the fish value. Okay. So if you go back and then give 5, okay. So let's see what happens. So it just goes ahead and execute only the fish. Okay, nothing else. So anything greater than 3, anything greater than 2, I think it executes only the first value. So this is 0, this is 1, and this is 2. Okay, Raghu, are you clear? Yeah. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so guys, please be attentive in the class. Okay, how can we give an index of a value, one of the sampler of purchase fish? Does it take 1 and 2? Okay, I don't think you would have to do that, to be honest, Abhijit. Okay, so why would you want to organize like this and then only execute a particular sampler in this? Okay, so in the way that you are asking, if that is the case, you would have this simple controllers. All you would have is this transaction controllers inside it. So if you organize the script in this way, then the idea is you execute only one of them. Okay, then if you wanted to execute only one of these transaction controllers, let's say, then you wouldn't have these simple controllers. They will go out of the switch controller and then have this one. So in case if you wanted to add that, add one more switch controller inside this. Okay, if that is the case, you add one more switch controller inside this. Okay, and then decide what you wanted to execute inside this. So if you give the switch value as 0, then it will go ahead, and then here if you give the switch value as 0, okay, it will switch. Since it's a switch value is 0, it will go ahead and execute this. Then you have one more switch controller and it will go ahead and execute this one. And again inside this, if you wanted to execute only one of them, you add one more switch controller. So I think that's how it needs to be done. Okay, if that is what you wanted to do, Abhijit. Okay, but 1/2, I don't know if it will actually work like that. Okay, Abhijit, are we clear? I think I kind of gave you as to how you have to handle the situation in case you wanted to do certain thing, like what you wanted to do. Okay, so add one more switch controller inside that. So that's what I would do. Okay, and okay, so now watch carefully. Everybody pay 100% attention, guys. Okay, everybody in the class pay 100% attention. I'm gonna introduce something called variables. Okay, how to use variables in Jmeter. Okay, Jmeter. Okay, if you go back to LoadRunner, okay, so there were different types of data, or in other words, we have different data types. Okay, so what were those? What were those, guys? What were the different data types? When you go back to LoadRunner and do C programming, what were the different data types, guys? Okay, integer. Okay, yeah, int, char, float. Okay, so we had all these kinds of data types, but in the Jmeter or boolean or long, there's some of them, but these were the double and all that. Okay, so but here in the Jmeter you don't have anything like that. You don't have anything. You have only one type of data. You don't even have a name for that. Okay, all you just have to all you have is user defined variables. Okay, all you have is user defined variables. Okay, all you have is user defined variables. Okay, so the variables work, the concept works just like how it works in LoadRunner. Okay, you can assign any values to it. Okay, you can assign any values to it. But how do we create in the LoadRunner? How do you create? You go to the action part. Inside the action part, what would you do? You just give the data type char or int, okay, or float, and then give a variable name. Okay, and give a variable name int, and then you put a semicolon. So this is how you bring. Okay, this is, you give a variable name var1. Okay, and then you execute it so that this var1 will come into existence, or the tool will create this variable. So in the Jmeter, how do we define these variables? Okay, how do we create these variables, or how do you make variables bring into life? How do we do it? Okay, it is very simple. Okay, so you go and add. Okay, you go and add a config element called. Can you see here anything which has something to do with the variables, guys? Okay, can you see something related to the variables? Watch carefully, guys. Okay, watch carefully, go through all of them and see if there is anything related to the variables here, guys. Watch carefully and tell me, guys, pay attention. Okay, wonderful, Hagos. There is something called user defined in the config element, the last element. What is this? User defined variables. Click on it. Okay, if you are creating it from the template, as I am doing, automatically it will be added. Okay, but in case if you are not creating it from the template, you wouldn't be able to see this element. Then you have to add it from here. Okay, then you have to add it from here, config element. Okay, so this is what it is. Since I already have this one, so maybe I'll delete one of them, or maybe I'll delete this one. Okay, maybe I'll delete this one. Okay, now you see I have this user defined variables, and let's say I wanted to create a variable, okay, called var. Okay, var1, and the value that I wanted to give it is, let's say, 10. Okay, so this is how it happens. This is what we can do. This is what we can do. And description, maybe I can give any description. It's not mandatory. Okay, whatever you wanted to use this variable for. Okay, I'll use this as a index value. Okay, index value. I'll use this as an index value. Okay, just a description. Okay, now instead of 1, I don't have 10 here. Maybe I'll put 2. Okay, so you see now you have created a variable called var1, and then you have assigned a value and you given description. This is not mandatory. So now you see how I'll use this var1. Okay, how I will use this var1. Go to the switch controller and give the switch value. Instead of switch value, I'll give var1 here. Okay, I'll give var1 here. Okay, var1, capital VAR. Okay, let me copy paste it because it is case sensitive. It is case sensitive. If instead of capital V, if I put small v, it will not work. Okay, so let me paste it here. Let me paste it here. Okay, var1. Okay, wonderful, guys, wonderful. Okay, now you tell me, guys, will this work? Will this work? Will this work? Okay, will this work? No, it will not work. Narendra Rama says it will not work. Now let's go back to LoadRunner a little bit, guys. Let's say I've created, there is an LR parameter that you have created. LR parameter that you have created. Okay, let's say the LR parameter is param1. Okay, you have created an LR parameter called param1. Okay, there are multiple ways to do that. So you have created that. Okay, now you have to use that in a web URL or web custom request. Okay, you want to use this param1 into a web custom request or web URL. How do you do that, guys? Now I have to pass this param1 as an input into this web URL. I wanted to use this param1 inside this web URL. Okay, so how do you use this? Just say param1, or do you put something into it? Guys, I wanted to ask you, okay? So I've created a param1. Let's go back to the LoadRunner. It's been a while, but if you have practiced, you should be able to tell me, okay? I've created a LR parameter called param1. I wanted to use this param1 inside this web custom request, okay? Like web custom request or web URL or web submit data. How do you do it? You use the flower braces. Wonderful. You use the flower braces and put param1 inside that. Okay, you directly don't use param1. Okay, so you wanted to use the param1, you put the flower braces and use the param1. Okay, you remember this, guys, all of you? So whenever there is an LR parameter and passing as an input to any LR function, okay, you have to use the param1. You have to use the flower braces. I hope you know this rule of thumb. I have explained multiple times in the class. So let's try to put the same concept here. Have created a variable. Okay, I've created a variable called var1. I've created a variable called var1. Okay. Now I wanted to use it somewhere in the script. So obviously you're passing it as an input. So it has to be a flower braces. Do you agree with me, guys? Do you agree with me? All of you? Just like LoadRunner, say Jmeter. The LoadRunner, I have to use the LR parameter as an input to any function. I have to put the flower braces. Here also, var1 is what I have created, and I'm using it somewhere. It has to be the flower braces. Are we clear with all of you? Are we clear with this one? All of you, I want to hear from all the 20 students, guys. Please be attentive. Okay, I get the energy from you, I'm telling you. Okay, if I don't hear from you, sometimes I get the feeling that maybe I'm speaking to a wall. Already there's nobody in front of me, to be honest. I'm speaking to a computer, and if you're not even responding to me, so I'll be in my own world and you will be in your own world. Okay, please respond. Okay, so just like in LoadRunner, wherein when you create a parameter, okay, and you want to use the parameter, so you will use the flower braces. Exactly the same way in Jmeter. Okay, I've created a variable and I want to use the variable somewhere. It has to be the flower braces. So in the Jmeter, using flower braces is not enough. Okay, you have to put a dollar symbol in front of it. You have to put a dollar symbol in front. Okay, why? That's how the Jmeter tool has been designed, guys. That's how the Jmeter tool has been designed. Okay, are we clear, guys? All of you now how to use the variable once the variable is created? How to use the variable? Are we clear with this one? All of you? Wonderful. Thank you, guys. Thank you. I asked too many questions. I do agree. Okay, but I want it to be interactive. However, you are not asking questions, so let me ask the questions. Let me be interactive. Okay, now what is the var1 value? What is the var1 value? It is 2. Okay, you are passing the 2 over here. So which one will be executed, guys? Which one will be executed? Option 1 fish, option 2 dog, option 3 cat. Which one will be executed now? Option 1 or 2 or 3? Okay, cat will be executed. Let me go back and see if the cat gets executed or not. Okay, as you can see here, you see cat got executed. Okay, cat got executed. That is what is our expectation. You expect that cat needs to be executed, and cat is executed. Okay, and cat is executed. Wonderful, guys. Okay, I'm happy. Okay, wonderful. So one more thing, guys. Here I have launch. Did you notice launch one? Is it executing 2 times, guys? Click 17. You see how many times launch one is there? Only once. But here there are 2 entries for that. I thought somebody will ask this question. Why? There is only one sampler called click 17. There are 2 entries for that. Did you notice this, guys? Does this mean that this sampler is executing twice? Okay, and which means that are we executing 2 times? No, we are not executing with 2 users. Neither we are executing for 2 iterations. Then why over here launch? There are 2 entries for launch one, 2 entries for click, and then 2 entries for login 18. Okay, and so why is this happening? 2 entries for log out. Any idea as to why that is happening, guys? Okay, Diva says it's embedded resources. Abhijit, there's so many places we use these user-defined variables. Okay, as we proceed further, you will understand the power of user-defined variables more and more. Okay, there are n number of places we might use it. So let's not spend time on that. As we proceed further, as I explain certain topics, okay, you'll understand, where we can use this user-defined variables. Wonderful, Gaurav. Since you are doing the real time, immediately you told me. You see, this launch one is there in a transaction controller called launch one. Okay, so it gives one entry for this transaction controller and one entry for this sampler. Actually, it executes the transaction controller, but what's the transaction controller itself doesn't have anything. It is more like a folder. So inside that transaction controller, I have this sampler. So it is executing the sampler. So it is having one entry for this. Then in this sampler, let's say there are two samplers. It will execute those two samplers, and also it will show you the entry for the transaction controller as well, which doesn't mean that the launch one is executing twice. It is just showing the entries for the sampler and also the controller. That's about it. Okay, so don't get confused, guys. If you're executing, if you're wondering, why that tool is executing twice, it is not executing twice. It is just showing the entries for once for transaction controller and one for launch. Oh, is that so? Okay, I don't believe you. Maybe here I'll say controller. Okay, then you see the entry for, I'm changing only for the launch, guys. I'm not changing for all of them. Now you will see, don't see launch one twice. You will see launch controller and launch one. Right now it is seeing launch one and launch one. One is for the controller, one is for the sampler. To prove that point, I've changed the launch one to launch controller, guys. Okay, now you see launch one is executed. Launch one is there in the launch controller, so there is one entry for launch controller. Okay, so launch one is not executing twice. Okay, one entry for the sampler, one entry for the controller. Wonderful, Gautam. I know you are doing real time, so immediately you told me. Okay, wonderful. Okay, you're running only the samplers, Raghu. You're not running the controller, but just the entry it is showing. Just the entry it is showing. Okay, so there is no other way. I mean, you can avoid. I mean, in the view results tree, it is just the entry. You cannot avoid it. Okay, but in the other listeners, like view results in the table or view results aggregate report or something like that, you want to avoid the entry for the samplers and you want the entry only for the controllers. Then you can say generate parent sample, then it will show you the entries only for the controllers, not for the samplers. But you cannot avoid it in the view results tree, listener. You can avoid it in the view results table or view results aggregate report or summary report. Okay, so if you don't want the entry for the controller itself, then don't add the controller itself. Just add the samplers if you don't want the entry at all. Okay, Raghu? Okay, but you can avoid the samplers. You can have the controllers. How? By clicking on generate parent sample. Okay, but not in this listener, in the other listeners. Okay, wonderful, guys. Wonderful. Okay, now, okay, so I have passed this one here. Wonderful. Okay, so maybe there is a variable, okay, where you can have the switch controller is, maybe you've written a small program and the value of the variable is changing continuously, for example, value of the variable is changing, example, then this switch controller will have much more meaning. Okay, now watch carefully. Don't get overwhelmed with what I am doing now. Watch very carefully. What I will do is I will generate a random number. I will generate a random number. Okay, I will generate a random number. Okay, watch carefully. I'll generate a random number between 0 and let's say 2. Okay, and that random number that is generated, okay, I'll save it in a variable. Okay, save it in a variable. Okay, save it in a variable. Okay, and then that variable, okay, that variable, I'll put it in a switch controller. Okay, as a switch index, I'll put it as a switch value. Okay, that variable, I'll pass it as a, okay, pass it as a switch variable. That variable, okay, pass it as a switch value. Are you okay, guys? Okay, are you okay? What I am trying to do? First, I'll generate a random number which is between 0 and 2. Okay, and save that into a variable, a user defined variable, and then pass that variable into the switch value. Is that okay, guys? I'm about to do that. Have you understood what I'm about to do it? Okay, what I'm about to do it. All of you, have you understood? First, I'll generate a random number between 0 and 2, which means that for first iteration it could be 1 value, second iteration it could be 2, third iteration it could be 0. Okay, so I'll generate a random value and save it in a variable. Okay, and pass that variable into the switch controller. This is when the switch controller, will be more meaningful as to why the switch controller we use it in the real world. Okay, so I'll create a simple program. You can create any kind of program wherein the value in this in this variable might change. But right now I don't want it to write big programs, okay, based on certain conditions. Okay, maybe on a certain if conditions the value on this variable is changing, something like that could happen. But here I am writing a simple program where generate a value will be generated. Okay, a random value will be generated, and that value I'm storing it in var1 and then passing it over here. Okay, but the value in var1 can change. You can write a program in such a way that it can change because of hundreds of reasons. Okay, so now watch carefully what I'm doing. There are a couple of ways you can generate a random number. Okay, there are a couple of ways we can generate a random number. So I'll show you both the ways. Okay, both the ways. So the first way. Okay, how do we do it? By using something called function. Okay, something called Jmeter functions. Okay, something called Jmeter functions. Okay, so first let me do it with a Jmeter function. Okay, watch carefully here, guys. So I'm using the power of Jmeter. Jmeter has given me bunch of functions. So I'll use one of the function. Okay, one of the Jmeter function to create the random variable. Okay, how do I do it? Watch carefully here. Here, the last but one. Okay, you don't have this one. This is called plugin manager, which I've installed recently. I'll show that at the later point of time. Don't get confused that your version is same, but you're not able to see this plugin manager. At the later point of time, I'll tell you about the plugin manager. But right now, you will have this one, which is a help, and just below that, beside that, you will have a functional helper. Okay, so you click on that. Okay, this is just a helper. Okay, if you want, you can use this helper, and if you're really comfortable, you don't use this helper. Okay, at the starting point of time, I will advise all of you to use this functional helper. Now I wanted to use this. I wanted to create, okay, a function which will create a random number. Okay, watch carefully here. Okay, so this function, which is underscore random, what is it? Underscore random, okay, is what you can use. Underscore random is what you can use to create a random number. Which function? Underscore random. Not a rocket science. The name itself is saying that it is random. Okay, if you wanted to generate a random date, you can use this random date. Okay, if you wanted to generate a previous date, then there is something called file date or something like that is there. Okay, you wanted to generate a random string, you can have this one. Okay, if there are multiple variables and you wanted to select one variable randomly, you can use this. Like this, there are a bunch of functions here, lot of functions. By using this, there's so much power the Jmeter is giving it to you guys. Okay, so people say that if you wanted to write any programming, you have to do bean shell programming, or you have to know Groovy. But most of the work I'm telling you guys, without writing a simple line of bean shell or Groovy, most of the work can be done using these functions, guys. There's so many functions that Jmeter has given. Okay, so you can write any of them. Okay, wonderful, guys. Okay, now I wanted to generate a random number. Where did it go? Oh my god. Okay, there you go. Random number. Okay, you are not writing any program here, guys. Don't get overwhelmed. You are not writing even a single line of program. Okay, using the UI, the GUI or a GUI of Jmeter, you're creating the function. Okay, you're creating the function. The minimum value allowed in the range. This is the minimum value. I wanted to generate a random number between 0 and 2, which means that a random number that is generated will always be between 0 and 2. Either it is 0 or 1 or 2. If you wanted to generate a random number between 0 and 100, you can put an 100 so that a random number between 0 and 100 can be created. Okay, so and okay, that's it. Now you say generate and copy to the clipboard. You see, this is the function. This will generate a random number between 0 and 100. Okay, now you say generate copy. Okay, you see, as I click on generate, the value, you see, this is how a sample value will be. You see, generate 71 is generated, generate 16 is generated, generate 77 is generated. So you see, so a random number is being, watch this carefully guys. Okay, as I click on generate, a random number is generated, and that random number, if you pay attention, it will be with between 0 and 100. Okay, if I wanted here, I don't want between 0 and 100. Here I wanted between 0 and 2. So if you see this value that is getting generated, it will be 0 between 0 and 1. This is just a sample value. So how it will. Okay, now you not only is generating, you are copying this function as well. You see, you click on it, it will generate as well as it will copy to the clipboard. Okay. Okay, now I have copied this. So where can I use this? Where can I use this? Okay, simply type this number over here. Now it will generate a random number between 0 and 2. It will generate a random number between 0 and 2. Okay, are we clear guys? Later on I will tell you how to copy this into a variable and use that value from the variable. Directly I am using this. Directly I am using this without copying this value into any variable. I am using this one. Okay, now what will happen? The switch value between value will be anywhere between 0 and 2. It can generate any value, I don't care. So it will be between 0 and 2. Are we clear guys? Are we clear? Okay, I'm going to execute and show it to you. But so far, is it clear as to what I have done? I've made it as simple as possible. Okay, all of you are masking. Okay, everybody in the class has to, all they have to do is move their hand and either you press on Y or press on N. Okay, yeah. Okay, now I'll go ahead and execute it. I'll go ahead and execute it. Watch carefully here guys. I'll go ahead and execute it. Now if the switch value which is generated is 0, then it will go ahead and execute fish. If it is 1, it will be dog. If it 2, it is cat. Wonderful guys. So let me go ahead and then run it, but let me run it for 10 times. Okay, let me run it for 10 times, or let me run it for 3 times now. Okay, so okay, seems like the first time it has picked up dog. Okay, seems like the first time it has picked up dog. The second time fish. Okay, third time fish again. Okay, so random, if it generate a random value, it doesn't mean that the same value cannot be repeated. The same value can be repeated. For the first iteration, the switch value could have been 1, so that's the reason why it has executed the dog. The second time, the switch value or the value, the random value that is generated could have been 0, so that's the reason why fish is executed. The third time again 0 is executed, the fish. Okay, Kumar, we are speculating here as to what is the switch value that is being generated. We are speculating that the first time probably 1 is generated, that's the reason why dog is there. So second time, so 0 is generated, so random value 0 is generated, so second time it is fish. Again the third time 0 is generated, fish. No, Kumar, I wanted to see what is the value that is generated, okay, by the switch. Okay, unfortunately you haven't saved it in a variable, so you cannot see it. Unfortunately you haven't saved it in a variable, so you cannot see it. Okay, so Kumar, I wanted to see that value. If you wanted to see that value, first save it in a variable. Okay, first save it in a variable and use that variable over here. Use that variable over here. Okay, now okay, watch carefully guys, watch carefully. Okay, watch carefully. For now what I will do is I will add one sampler. Okay, so usually we have to use a dummy sampler. Okay, usually we have to use a dummy sampler. Let me use the dummy sampler. Okay, let me use the dummy sampler. Okay, so you see there is something called dummy sampler. Use this dummy sampler. Okay, for you might not be seeing the dummy sampler guys. Later on I'll tell you how to get this dummy sampler. You have to, for getting this dummy sampler, you have to install the plugin manager guys. You have to install the plugin manager, and then from the plugin manager you will be able to get the dummy sampler. But for now Just assume that we have already installed the plugin manager and we already have the dummy sampler. Okay, I don't want to deviate at this point of time. I wanted to concentrate only on that random. Okay, only on that random thing. Okay, don't even ignore all the things which are over here. We are not using any of it. We are not using any of it. So in the dummy sampler, in the name, okay, in the name, I will assign this variable. Okay, I'll use this random variable. Okay, I'll use this random variable. Where is my dummy sampler, guys? Here is the dummy sampler. Okay, so I'll assign this variable here. Wonderful. Okay, so now, what happens in this dummy sampler, as the name suggests, this sampler has no value. It is just dummy. I'm using this sampler so that I can use this function called random. Use this function called random. So here what is happening? Okay, a random value between 0 and 2 is getting created. What is the agenda now? That value that is created will be put into a variable. Value that is created between 0 and 2, that I have to put it into a variable. That is the agenda. That is the agenda. So how can I put it into a variable? Let's say I wanted to put it into a variable called var1. So if I do this, will it work, guys? Whatever the random value that is getting generated, I wanted to put it into a variable. So random value you are generating, and then you are saying var1 is equal to this function. So whatever the random value that is getting generated, so I am saying that put it into a variable. Do you think will it work, guys? Do you think it will work? Do you think it will work? Okay. Okay. So my guess, it will not work. Okay. My guess, it will not work. Okay. So how do you, whatever the value that is getting generated, how do I pass it into a variable? How do I pass it into a variable? Okay. So if you go to this functional helper, if you go to this functional helper, okay. If you go to this functional helper, okay, now go back and search for this R, okay, random. Okay, now you see what is the minimum value? 0. Okay, so I wanted to generate a random number between 0 and 2. That one, name of the variable in which you wanted to store the result. That one, I wanted to store it in a variable called var1. That one, I wanted to store it in a variable called var1. Now you say generate and copy. You see underscore random. The minimum value is 0. The maximum value is 2. Random value between 0 and 2 will be generated, and that will be stored in var1. Why? Because you see name of the variable in which it stored the result. That variable I've given it as var1, and my Jmeter itself has created a function for me. Copy. Now what happens? A random value between 0 and 2 is generated, and that value I'm storing it in a var1. That value I'm storing it in a var1. Don't even look into all this. Don't care about all this. Okay. Now now you go back and use the switch controller var1. Okay. So instead of saying var1, I've already used var1, which is 2. I wanted to use some other variable here. Instead of using var1, I'll say rand1. Okay, rand1. Okay, so now you say rand1. Will it work, guys? If I just put rand1 here, will it work? Or what should be the syntax? I've already created a variable called rand1, and that will store a value between 0 and 2. I wanted to use that variable rand1 here. So if I wanted to use it, will it work? What should be the syntax? Quickly write the syntax. What should be the syntax if I wanted to use it? All of you guys, everybody, quickly, just now I have told you, it's not difficult. Okay, just like LoadRunner, it should be flower braces, but the flower braces will not work. What should be there before the flower braces? No, guys, you are not participating. Just now I've told you, I've created a variable, okay, and I wanted to use that variable. How can I use that variable? Syntax, flower braces, just like LoadRunner, but they have added more to it. It should be tall. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, now good. Okay, let me go ahead and execute for 3 times. Okay, first one, purchase dog has executed. Second time, purchase fish has executed. Third time, again purchase dog has executed. Okay, but which means that first time a random value 1 has been generated. Second time 0 has been generated. Third time dog has been generated, and sorry, third time again 1 has been generated. So you're executing 1, right? For first time dog is generated. First is dog is executed, which means that random number 1 could have been generated. Second time fish is executed, which means that random value 0 would have been generated. Third one cat. Okay, which means that, sorry, third one again dog, which means that 1 would have been generated. Okay, but I wanted to see that value, Kumar, visually. That's the whole reason why we have saved that value into a rand1 and using that random one over here, so that I wanted to see what is that value rand1, okay, that is being generated for each iteration. Okay, let me execute this for 10 times now. Okay, so can I see it anywhere? No, nowhere it is telling me what is that rand1 value that is getting generated for each iteration. So obviously, whatever the controllers or whatever the elements that we have right now in this particular thread group, they are not good enough. They are not good enough to show me the value that is getting generated. That is getting generated. Okay. Okay, so I have to add more elements. So what is that element that we need to add? Watch carefully, guys. Okay, now, okay, you say, okay, on the thread group level or on any level you can add. Simple controller level, no, this random value is there in this simple controller, so you can add it in the simple controller level or thread group level or test planner. So let me add this element on the thread group level. Okay, you would add something called debug sampler. What do you add, guys? What do you add? You add something called debug sampler. Why we are adding the debug sampler? To actually see what is the value that is being generated in the random one. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, wonderful. Okay, now we have added the debug sampler. Let me see what will happen now. Okay, let me see what will happen now. Okay, it will execute 10 times. So I asked you to execute 10 times. Okay, wonderful. Okay, now this is the first iteration. Launch has happened. Now it is executing cat. It is executing cat means the random number 2 would have been generated. Okay, and I wanted to see that visually, so I've added the debug sampler. I've added the debug sampler, which is showing it to me in the view results tree. Click on the debug sampler and watch carefully if there is anything called rand. What was the variable name, guys? Rand1. Okay, watch carefully. So watch carefully in this debug sampler. Okay, if there is anything called rand1, there is thread name, sample start, load time, connect, latency, size. So there is nothing called rand1. Oh, did we I mean, our efforts of adding the debug sampler is wasted? No, guys, you are not looking at the right place. You go to the response data and watch carefully. What is rand1? What is rand1? What is getting generated? 2. So you see, for this iteration, rand1, 2 is generated, and that's the reason why cat is being executed. Cat is being executed. Wonderful. That is for the first iteration. Second iteration, this is the second iteration. Again, go to debug sampler. What is the rand value that is generated? 1. Since the random value 1 is generated, it should execute dog, and it has executed dog. Let's go to the third iteration. Third iteration, here is the debug sampler. 0 is generated. 0 means fish should be executed, and fish is executed. Fourth iteration, debug sampler, 1 is generated. 1 means dog, dog is executed. Okay, so in the debug sampler, I'll be able to see the values of the variables. I'll be able to see the values of the variables. Oh, Kumar, is it so? So we have created a variable called var1. So var1 should be shown as well. I totally agree. var1 should be shown as well, and var1 is being shown as well in every debug sampler. In every debug sampler, var1 is also shown. var1 is not changing because it's 2 all the time. Okay, and it's a global variable. Okay, and it's a global variable. So any number of times it executes, var1 will be 1 itself, because it's not changing. You're not changing the value inside var1, and you see execution happens here, which means that whatever is there in the thread group, this will be executed 100 times. Okay, let me delete all the unwanted stuff. Okay, whatever is there in the thread group, this will be executed 10 times, not the user defined variable, which is the global variable. So whatever is there, it will be executed 10 times, and 10 times it is executed. So it's a global defined variable. Once it has given the value 2, it stays 2, because whatever there inside this one is changing. It's been executed 10 times. Okay, wonderful, guys. and that's the reason why. Okay, that's the reason why. Sorry, the value in the debug sampler var1 will not change, and you're not changing it as well. Okay, so Kumar, this debug sampler, in all these samplers I have to go and search for this debug sampler and click here and then see the value. Then again, if I wanted to see the debug sampler for second iteration, then keep searching until you found the next value. This is little straining on my eyes. And when I wanted to troubleshoot, I wanted to see the values in the variables. This is sometimes, this is becoming difficult for me. Is there an easier way wherein all the debug samplers will be at one place and I need not have to go keep searching for these debug samplers? Yes, there is a simpler way. If you wanted to do that, simpler, under the debug sampler, add a listener called view results tree. Now see what happens. Okay. Oh, even though I've added the view results tree under the debug sampler, still here I have to go search for my debug sampler. You're looking at the wrong place. You just simply go to the view results tree in the debug sampler. Here only the debug samplers will be there. This is for the first iteration, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. So you see, first iteration, what is the random value generated? 1. Second iteration, again 1. Third iteration, again 1. Fourth iteration, 2. Fifth iteration, 2. Sixth iteration, 0. Seventh iteration, 1. Like this, you can easily see all the values. You can look at all the debug samplers will be filtered out at one place. If you add the view results tree under debug samplers, you will be able to see only the debug samplers, and then you need not have to search over here. And strain your eyes. Okay, so just comfort level. Nobody is asking you to add the view results tree and see it over here, but it's just a comfort level. If you wanted to do it that way, nobody is stopping you as well. Okay, so that you will be able to see all the variables at one place. So it is not only showing you the value of one variable, it will show you the values of all the variables that you have. Okay, it will show you the variables of all the values. Okay, so you will be able to see it up over here. Okay, wonderful guys. Okay, and okay, global variables, I haven't spoken about it. I'll talk about it now. Okay, global variables, I'll quickly talk about it. But whatever is being taught, is it clear guys? Okay, okay, there are questions, couple of questions. I'll take those questions. Okay, I'll take those questions. Okay, first, okay, there are two questions. Okay, Leslie, wonderful. I thought somebody will ask that question, Leslie. I think everybody is looking at the question which Leslie asked. Wonderful question, Leslie. So nobody is asking you to do it the way that I'm doing because you already have the random control. Okay, you can use the random controller, but I'm just showing you the power of switch controller as to where we can use the switch controller, how we can use. So here I couldn't think of any other, I mean, what do you say, any other possibility of explaining the switch controller. Okay, so I've chosen this way of random. Okay, but whatever the variable that you're passing, you can have some program to it, and then based on the program, based on certain logic, you can create the random value. Okay, generate a value and use that over here. That's my whole intention. And instead of using any program, I've selected picking a simple program which is generating a random value. Okay, Leslie. Okay, so not necessarily you have to use it here. Okay, in case, as you said, if we really wanted to use one of them randomly, you could have used the random controller. You need not have to use a switch controller and write all this program. I totally agree with you, but just wanted to show you how the switch controller actually works. Okay, instead of generating a random number and using it over here, based on some other logic, you generate the number and use it over here. Okay, but I'm just saying that you can generate a value based on a logic and use this over here. That is my agenda. And some logic generating a number, I picked random. Okay, I picked random. That's about it. Okay, but if you really have to use, if you really have to pick some value randomly, you could have chosen random controller. Okay, Leslie, have I answered that question? Wonderful question, Leslie. Okay, wonderful question. Okay. Abhijit, okay, if that is the question that you had, wonderful, because you're not only following today's class, but you have followed yesterday's class as well. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. I'm very, very glad that you're asking these questions. Again, I'm repeating, Leslie, I wanted some logic to be there so that some number can be created here. Okay, based on whatever the logic you have for your program, you generate that number and use that number over here. So that logic to generate the number, I have picked random because it is easy for me to explain in the class. Okay, that's the reason why. Okay, but wonderful question, Leslie. You will get a job very quickly. I'm telling you. Okay, so can I use this function in the user defined variables? Wonderful, Rama. Let's go ahead and pick that. Okay, let's try that. Okay, now instead of creating a dummy sampler and then use this dummy sampler, what Narendra is asking me is, why don't we do it over here itself? Okay, here itself. Okay, instead of value. Okay, why don't we do it over here? So okay, what you're doing here, you're generating a random number. Okay, let me not assign it to it. Okay, so what you're doing here, you're generating a random number between 0 and 2. That random number you are assigning it to a variable and use that variable over here. This is what Narendra is asking me. Narendra, is that what you're asking me? Wonderful question, Narendra. Is that what you're asking me? Yes, we can do it. It will work. But you tell me, okay, how many times this user-defined variable will be executed in this test plan? Narendra, please tell me how many times this user-defined variable will be executed in this test plan? Only once. So only one random number will be generated, and that random number will be used in the switch controller. Let's say the random number that will be generated is, let's say, 2. So that 2 will be used here. Okay, if I say now var1 here, okay, use var1 here in the switch controller. Okay, so this 2, whatever is generated, will be used over here, not one time, but all the 10 times. But all the 10 times the same value will be used. So you can use this. Okay, you can use this. This random number that will be generated will be assigned to var1. There is no two ways around it. Okay, 100% it will be. But the same value will be used 10 times, which is not our agenda. Okay, but you can do this. You can do this. You can generate a random number between 0 and 2, assign it to a variable. It will definitely work. I'm going to show it to you. Let me add one more sampler here. I'll say var2. Okay. Okay, var2, and then let me generate a random number between 1 and 100. Okay, is there a purpose? No, just generating to see what is the values there. I wanted to demonstrate something for Narendra. Okay, so now you see. Okay, now you see Narendra. Now you see Narendra. Now var1 and var2 values, let's watch them carefully. Okay, let's watch them carefully. I can watch them in the index. Okay, I can watch them in the debug sampler. Okay, where I can watch it in the debug sampler. Okay, I don't care about rand value here. I don't care about the rand1 value. I am caring about only the var1 and var2. What are the values which will be there for 10 iterations? How many iterations you're executing? 10 iterations. What will be the values for var1 and var2? Let's look at it. What is happening? Okay, let's look at the first one. var1, what is the value, Narendra? 0, because var1 should be between 0 and 2, it is 0. It has picked 0, and var2 should be between 1 and 100, it is 77. But not only for the first iteration, every single iterations it will be same thing. Every single iterations it will be same thing, because this user defined value is on the test plan level, not on the thread group level. Okay, are we clear? Narendra, can we use it? Yes, but will it serve my purpose for the current situation? No, it will not. Okay, not only Narendra, it is for everybody. Okay. If Narendra has asked me a valid question, why we have to create a dummy sampler and generate it? Why can't we use it in the user-defined variables itself? Okay, you're generating a random value and assigning it to a variable. It can be, but it is not executed multiple times. It will not be. But even though it will be executed multiple, even though you put it in the thread group, okay, even though I'll just pass this copy and paste it in the thread group. Okay, where is my user-defined variables? I've just moved it up so that visually it will be easy for me. Now this user-defined variable, even though it is there, I don't think it will execute 10 times. It will execute only once. So let me disable this, guys. Okay, you see I have disabled the user defined variables on the test plan level and enabled the user defined variables in the thread group level, which means that it should execute 10 times. So which means that it will generate different values for this 10 times, but will it? I don't think so. It will execute only once, I believe. This is what it is, a config element. Okay, it is a config element, and I don't think the config element will be executed multiple times. I think it will only execute one time. To prove that, okay, to look at that, let me execute this one for 10 times. Okay, let's watch here carefully. So what is it? I expect that, okay, general expectation is this user defined variable should be executed how many times? 10 times. If it is executed 10 times, different values of random numbers should be generated. That is what is the expectations with which I'm starting. May be wrong, I might be wrong. Okay, let me see. I think config elements will be executed only once. That's what I remember. Okay, you see var 1 and 63, 1 and 63, 1 and 63. You see, even though you are putting inside the thread group, okay, which means that it should execute 10 times, but it will not execute 10 times because since it's a config element, it will be executed only once. Okay, it will be executed only once, because once the variables are declared for that thread group, you don't expect it to change. You don't expect it to change all the time. So that's how the Jmeter folks have thought, and they said irrespective of how many times you execute, okay, you just these variables are defined for once, and those variables will be used over here. So even though you put these user defined variables inside the thread group, this will not, only once it gets executed, it will not execute it 10 times. Even then you put it inside the thread group and make this as a local variables to this thread group. Okay, thread group usually represents a script, guys. Thread group usually represents a script. Let's say this is purchase fish, purchase a product fish. Purchase a product script. Let's assume. Okay, so thread group usually represents a script. Let's say this is a purchase a product script. Okay, let's say this is purchase a product script. So, and then there could be one more script. Okay, that's a different story. Okay, then there will be cancel order script is there. Okay, cancel order script is there. Okay. Okay, so this user defined variables will be local to this script called purchase a product. Okay, so will this user defined variables will be local to this purchase order script, and these variables cannot be used in the cancel order script. Okay, so that's why we are calling this as a local variable now, this user defined variables. But still, this you are running it for 10 times, it is still running only once. So only one time it has generated that random value and used it for every iterations. Okay, so that's the reason why my purpose of this randomizing will not work here if I'm using it in the user defined variables. Narendra Rama. Okay, are we clear? Okay, so you wanted to do it with two, okay, multiple users. Okay, let's try with multiple users. Whatever you told me is also logical. Let's try it with 2 users, but let's run it for 2. 10 iterations is way too many. Okay, run it for only 2. Okay. So let's say this is for which user? Let's say this is for the user 1, and it has generated 0 and 55. And this is for the user 2. You see, this is thread group and this is user. This represents the thread group, which is the first thread group. I have 2 thread groups. One is purchase a product and the other is cancel order. So this represents purchase order, and this is second user 0 and 55 only. So you see 0 and 55, 0 and 55, 0 and 55. Even though the users are changing, the value will be only once this will be executed, and it will be one and used for multiple iterations for multiple users. Rama, did we do the experiment and now we can prove, right? Irrespective of the users, it will be executed only one. Okay, clear, right? Absolutely clear. I think wonderful question, Rama. This is how you can dig deep into the tool and explore every possibility in the tool. Okay. Now you watch carefully. These user defined variables are local to this particular thread group or script, which is purchase order, which you are generating a random number. Okay, now I'll create one more config element. I'll create, okay, I don't wanted to create any user defined variables. I wanted to see if this var1 var2 I can use it in this cancel order or not. I can use it in this script called cancel order. If I wanted to check it, all I can add is a debug sampler here. Okay, add a debug sampler, and add a runtime viewer. Okay, and in this runtime viewer, in this debug sampler, if these variables are there, var1, var2 should be shown up over here in this debug sampler. Should be shown up over here in this debug sampler in case these variables are passed into this cancel order, or if in case these variables can be used in this cancel order, they should be printed out over here in the debug sampler. Let me see if it is printed out or not. Okay, let me run this for 2 iterations and let me run. Okay, and you see, if var1 and var2, I would have, oh, var1, var2, I could use this over here. Oh, okay. This is a news for me. I thought this user-defined variable, since I've put it over here, it is only for this one, but it is applicable for this one as well. Wonderful. Okay, this is good. This is good. Okay. So, okay, the user-defined variable seems to be a global, irrespective of where you place it. Okay, let me delete all this. Let me completely remove this. I thought it was, I have never tried it, honestly speaking. I thought it will be local to this particular script now, but it looks like, those values are even, shown up in this particular script as well, or in this particular thread group as well. Okay, so if you run it once more, let's see. Yeah, 1 and 55, you are able to see where 1 and where 2. Okay, so but if you see, okay, but if you see, okay, if you see this rand1 that you're generating, rand1 is a local to it because you have generated in a dummy sampler, not in the user defined sampler, not in the user defined variables. So rand1, it is not showing up over here. You see, rand1, it is not showing up over here. So the rand1 that you have generated is local to the script. Okay, but whatever this var1 and var2 that you have generated, it can be used across other thread groups as well. So user defined variables, irrespective of where you have placed it, it works as a global variable. It doesn't work as to where you have placed it and local to it. No, it is a global variables, which means that wherever, irrespective of, if that is the case, the best way to put it is here. Okay, if that is the case, then this is a global variable. It can be used across multiple scripts or multiple thread groups. Okay, so wherever you move it, wherever you move it, it doesn't matter. Okay, it doesn't matter. Okay, it still can be used across any thread groups or any scripts. Okay, so if that is the case, the best place to put the user defined variables is on the test plan level, because irrespective of where you place it, the variables that you have declared can be used across multiple scripts. So that's the reason why we call this as a global variables. So I know this user defined variables, whatever you put, call it as a global variables, but I thought if I move this inside, I mean, logically speaking, if I move this inside a particular thread group, I thought it becomes local. But looks like no, if I wanted to create a local variables, then you never use the user defined variables. You can create a dummy sampler and then use it, or maybe you can use it elsewhere. When I said elsewhere, where we can use it, I'll tell you, for example, this login is there. Okay, so you can use it here. You can use it here. Okay, somewhere here. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so okay, so are we clear, guys? Are we clear? So far, everybody I'm asking. Global variables and then the local variables and how to create the variables, how to use the variables. Are we clear with all of it? Okay, so I'll give you one example wherein I can use the variables in this item data. You see, these parameters are there. First, let me explain what this sampler is, Then I'll try to use these variables, the Jmeter functions or the variables over here. Okay, what is this sampler login? Okay, this is the login sampler which is hitting this server, and here is the path. So since this is a post request, I need to give some information with this request. Had it been a get request, I don't usually give any data inside it. You see, if it is a get request, you don't pass any data inside it. But if it's a post request, you have to pass some information. You have to give some information to it. What is the information you are giving? Username, password, sign in, and certain other random, dynamic values you are giving. Ignore these two. You are giving the username and password to it. Okay, so username what you are giving, J2E, password you are J2E. So you are asking the Jmeter to log in with this particular username and password. Username and password. That's what you are doing over here. Are we clear with this part, guys? Are we clear with this part? This, you see, this is a login sampler, and you're logging in with what? J2E, username J2E, password J2E. Okay. Are we clear with this one, guys? All of you? Okay, with this one, have you understood this? Before I go ahead and implement something else, are we clear with this part? Okay, we are just logging in with the username and password. Okay, we are logging in with the username and password. Now let's say, just assume for our discussion purposes. Okay, this is just an assumption, guys. Okay, this is just an assumption. Okay, this is just an assumption. Let's say this application, okay, this JPEG store application, okay, allows you to log in with any username. Okay, with any username. Let's just an assumption, guys. I don't know. I know that it will not allow, but let's assume this is a special application wherein password should be J2E, but username could be anything. Then it will allow. Let's assume. But the username should be how long? The username should be, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4. Only 4 letters long. Okay. Or let's not keep any restrictions with any username. Let's assume it will allow you to log. Okay. Now you wanted to modify the script in such a way that a random string should be generated because you are testing. Okay. The you're testing a use case called the application should log in with any username. The login, the application will allow you to log in with any username. Okay, so okay, so let's not complicate the things, guys. Let's not complicate the things. If I make these assumptions and everything, a lot of people, 100% of the people get confused. Okay, so let's not even make any assumptions. Okay, let's come to that. Let me create a completely different script for this. Okay, let me create a completely different script for this. Let's say registration script. Okay. Okay, so registration script. Let me quickly add a thread group. This is a thread group, right? Okay, so this HTTP script recorder is there. So let me add a sampler called, where is the simple sample? So expect the class to go a little longer here, guys, today. Where is the simple sampler? Sorry, simple controller. Okay, so simple controller, this is registration. Okay, let me go ahead and record the registration part. Now whatever the registration should be there, where in the registration. Okay. Okay, so this is where whatever I am record now will be stored into this test plan. Inside that there is a thread group called registration. Inside that there is a simple controller called registration. Whatever I am about to record now, it will be stored into this particular controller here. It will be stored into this particular controller. Why? Because I have said so. Test plan. Inside that registration, you see this is test plan. Inside that is registration thread group. Inside that there is the registration simple controller is there. Whatever I am recording, it will go into this particular thing. Okay, so let me start recording for the registration part. Okay, hang on, guys. Quickly we will complete this. I wanted to give you a real-time scenario rather than making some assumptions and get you confused. Okay, so I'll give you a real-time scenario. Launch has done. Okay, click, then register now. Then this is what sign up. Okay, register. Okay, this is what, sorry, yeah, this is finish. Okay, finish or something like that. Okay, so username I'll give you. Okay, Isha1. Okay, password is also same. Okay, Isha1. First name is same, second name I'll try to put the same thing here for everywhere. I don't think there will be any validations in the background. Okay, let's assume, I don't know, there could be validations, but I wanted to just give it a shot. Okay, save the information. Okay, you see it has saved. Okay, wonderful. Okay, now stop. Okay, the piece of code is generated over here. This is where the registration has happened. This is where the launch has happened. This is where the click has happened. This is where the registration has happened. This is where you clicked on the registration button, and this is where the actual registration has happened. You see, the username is, password, everything is same. Just ignore. This is the information with which I've registered. Now, when you play back, you expect the script to fail because with this username, the registration is already been done. With this username, the registration is already been done. Okay, Isha1 registration is already been done, so you expect it to fail. You expect it to fail. So what do you do now? What do you do now? You wanted to generate a random string. You wanted to generate a random string. So which may not be repetitive. Repetitive is a different question. You wanted to generate a random string. Okay, so that every time it registers with a different username. It registers with a different username. Okay. Every time it registers with a different username. Wonderful. Okay, you wanted to generate a random string. How can you do it? Okay, now go to the functional helper again, guys. Okay, sorry, you have to go to the functional helper. Okay, you go to the functional helper. This time around, what I wanted to do, I wanted to generate a random string. This time around, what I wanted to do, I wanted to generate a random string. Random string length. Okay, string length could be, let's say, 6. Okay, characters to choose from the random string. Okay, anything from A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. That's what I learned in my kindergarten. Okay, now the variable in which I wanted to store it. Okay, rand string. Okay, so now generate and copy. Now it will generate a random string of length 8, and it could be from A to Z. It can pick up any letter, but it will generate length of string, and then that will be stored in a variable called random string. Okay, okay, or generate and copy. Okay, now you can directly use it here. Directly use it here. Okay, directly use it here. Okay, so that it will generate a random string, and that random string can be assigned to the username. Can be assigned to the username. Or what you can do is you can create a dummy sampler. Okay, create a dummy sampler. In the dummy sampler, use this, and then random string, whatever the value will be generated, which will be of length 6. Any random string will be generated is of length 6, is of size 6, and the letters can be picked from anywhere from A to Z, and that value will be stored in a variable called random string. Okay, and that you can pass it here. That you can pass it here. Okay, that you can pass it here. Okay, for passing, you know, it has to be in the flower braces. It has to be in the flower braces and a dollar symbol. And a dollar symbol. Okay. Are we clear, guys? Are we clear? All of you? Are we clear? All of you? Now, I've just shown you the demonstration of creating a random string and using it for the, I wanted to show you that these variables can be used in these parameters as well. Okay, you see, this is the string, this is the request, this is the sampler wherein the registration is happening, and here for the username you have to register with a particular username, and that username you are randomizing it. You are randomizing that username. So every iteration a random string will be generated. With that random string you are registering. With that random string you are registering. Okay, are we clear, guys? All of you, are we clear, or this is going out of your head, or did I go too fast? I want to hear from all of you. Is this like way fast for you, or is it okay? All of you guys, I want to hear from all of you. Or maybe tomorrow we'll take some more time and explain this again. Guys, please respond. If you say no, just say no. But I want to listen to something. Yes, you want the dummy sampler to be executed before so that you can use it later. Okay, so you want it on a higher level. Okay, on the higher level, but you see, first this random will be generated, then this will be executed. Yeah, you want it to be on the upper level. Yes, go. Yeah, or maybe you can add it on the thread group level so that this will be executed before this simple controller is executed. This is executed, and then you can use it over here. Okay. Yeah. Sounds good. Sounds good. All of you. Okay. Now the username cannot be a random string. I want it to be a combination of random number and random string. Is it possible? Yes, if it is possible. Okay. Just put it beside each other. Okay. Now I'll generate a random number as well. Okay. Okay, I don't want it to complicate that. tomorrow I'll talk about it. If I wanted to, now at this point of time, it will generate an only random string. So I want to generate a random string and a random number. I want that combination to be used. In this username, the first 6 letters should be user letters and the second 2 digits to be numbers. So I want the first 6 digits to be a random string to be generated, and the next 2 numbers a random number should be generated. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. I'm going to show it to you. Simple, generate, okay, generate, okay, create one more dummy sampler. Okay, here you generate a random number, okay, random number, which is between, let's say, any number between 1 and 99, okay, 1 and 99, and the variable is random, okay, generate and copy, and just, okay, and you want to store it in a variable as well. Hang on, okay, you want to store it in a variable. Okay, if you want to store it in a variable, I can do that. Okay, I do not have to generate. You just put a comma over here. Oh, it's already stored in a random number. Okay, now put the random number. Okay, put the random number over here. Dollar. Okay. Now a 6-digit random number will be random string will be generated. After that, a 2-digit random number will be generated. With that string, a username will be created. With that string, a username will be created. Okay, so this is how you can generate a random alphanumeric number. So in the interview, if they ask you what is the scripting challenges that you have faced or did in Jmeter, you can say that I have created a registration script. For the registration script, I have created with a particular username and password, but when I play back, it will certainly fail because with the username that you have recorded, you cannot play back with the same username because the username would have already been registered. Now, the challenge is I wanted to create a script so that it will have a random alphanumeric number for the username. So for that, I have used the random string, a function called rand string and rand number. I've used a function called random string and I've used a function called random number, generated a random string and random number, and then passed it into the username field. This is how I have generated a registration script which will register with a random username and with a random username, which is alphanumeric. Okay, this is the scripting challenge that you can project in your interviews, guys. Scripting challenge that you can project in your interviews. Okay, let's stop here because I'm not getting too many responses. Okay, and some of you got overwhelmed. Again, guys, look at the recorded video. It's not too overwhelming. It is actually very, very simple. If you're overwhelmed, let me know. I'll spend some time with you, or maybe I'll repeat it tomorrow. Okay, but your job is to let me know, guys. Okay, I'll spend.
Hey, Kumar, Abdul here.
And by the way, before I take the question, I haven't covered the second way. How to generate a random number. Second way I haven't generated. I haven't covered. Tomorrow I will cover it. Today we are already overrun the class. Tomorrow I will do it. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, whoever was speaking. Sorry to cut you off.
This was Abdul Kumar. Thank you. Can you please email the JMX file which you have exercised in this session today, along with the video?
So let me put this, okay, hang on. Let me see where this location is. Okay, save, where is this? Save as, if I say save as, it will show the location. Okay, so let me put this in the disk. Is this one? Okay, hang on. Let me do a save as. I don't know where is the location that I've saved. Okay, let me put it in a desktop and say random. Okay, let me name it as random and save it. Okay, so I'll send it to you guys on the WhatsApp, guys. Okay, so I'll just send it to you on the. Okay, so like this, there is a lot of exciting stuff to learn, guys. I mean, Jmeter is a very vast tool. I'll try to cover as much as possible. Okay, so it's a wonderful tool, I'm telling you. So you will fall in love with this tool. Okay, more and more you know. Okay, I'm sending it on the chat window, guys. Okay, I'm sending it on the chat window, all of you. Okay, sending it on the chat window. So I've sent it to one group. Now let me send it to the other group as well. Okay, so Okay, the script I've already sent it to you guys. Okay, on the chat, on your WhatsApp, you should have the script, all of you by now. Okay, and by the way, yesterday I was exploring. There is no official body for the Jmeter certification. Okay, so just like HP LoadRunner, Microsoft LoadRunner, Microfocus guys itself will give. I mean, you can take the certification from Microfocus guys itself.
Even
But for
even sorry, for Jmeter, Blazemeter also offers the certificate, I think.
Oh, is it there? Okay, the Blazemeter certification is there. Okay, okay. I never explored that. That's good as well. So you can do a Jmeter certification. It is from vSkills. Okay. So with the vSkills, yeah, just searched it. You see certified Jmeter tester. Definitely in your resumes, you see, you get tagged as vSkills certified on Monster India and Shine. Looks like this vSkills is mostly for Indian folks, I believe. Okay, maybe outside India, if you go to US, I don't know, like, how much value it will have. But if you're living in India, definitely there is certain value. I'm telling you why, because this is India is, you see the price is in India, and also it is saying that monsterindia.com and shine.com. These are the popular websites for jobs, applying jobs in India. So I think this vSkills is only for, maybe for India. You can do some search, but India, yeah, if you are vSkills certified on Jmeter, I think it is certain value. Okay, in your resume, instead of saying that no certification, if you go with some, say, certified Jmeter tester, if you go with vSkills, I think that will be good. And as Abdul said, Blazemeter guys are also giving certification, so maybe you can take the Blazemeter certification, which is, I think, for Jmeter itself. So Blazemeter is popular, so it's better you, in case if the Jmeter is offering the certification for Jmeter, so you can take it from there, because it's more, I mean, more people know it. Okay, so I'll putting this on the chat window as well, guys. If somebody is interested in the certification, maybe explore these links. Okay, and from what I have looked at, I don't think it's, I mean, I don't think it's difficult to crack it. It looks simple. So if you just go through what they have given you on the topic wise, this is. But I always advise you to get certified, guys. Okay, once you see the certification in your resume, that will add a lot of value to your resume automatically. Okay, no, Shabura, it's nothing is free, man. I'm telling you, right? In the world, nothing is free. Even in US, they are giving you something for free. That is the reason why they are giving you for free. Okay, after that, they want to convert you into business. Okay, so yeah, first time when I came to US, I was surprised to see so much free stuff. But later on, when I started understanding, okay, everything they give you for free, there is a reason for that, so that they come back. I mean, they wanted you to come back to you at a later point of time, so that you can purchase it from them. Okay, but anyways, nothing. Blazemeter, Abdul, is it free on the Blazemeter Jmeter certification, Abdul?
No, it's not. Unfortunately, it's not. Yeah.
See, Shabora, it's not free. How much? Any idea?
Around, I think you can check about the latest pricing. I think under $200, I believe.
Okay, and this is, I mean, it is good to have a Blazemeter certification, right? What do you think? I mean, is it recognized? Does it have any value if you go to the interviews and all that?
I mean, see, we have recruited many performance testing professional, but we have never, eagerly look for whether he is certified or not. So we basically look for what is the previous experience and what are the complex project they have handled, and
Okay.
can they drive the performance initiative, all those things, instead
Okay.
of just mostly people say, if from the beginning, like they'll say, okay, I have done this, I have done that, I have this experience, scripting experience, but along with that, uh, uh, eh, taking initiative, driving the developments towards the best practices, all that is very much matter, because nobody just expect you to just come and do some scenario automation and publish some reports. So they need to get to the pain points and suggest some corrective measures towards that, so that whole development team will follow through it. Because program managers and senior management, they expect you to to bring the bottlenecks to the surface, so that it's not hiding for surprises.
Okay. Got it. I understand. Okay, nobody just hires you on the basis of certification. It will be on the experience and how you do the interview. But if you have that in your resume, a certain value will be there, is what I'm thinking. Okay, it creates
Yeah,
an impression.
definitely it will give you a chance, compared to the crowd, you will have bigger advantage.
Okay, so look at here, guys. This is the looks like this is what is the website, and you see get certified as a Jmeter expert. Maybe you can take this exam. Okay, from here, and you can explore more on this. Maybe I'll send you this link on the chat on my not on the chat window, but I'll send it to you on the this one. Okay, on the WhatsApp. Okay, explore those as well. Okay.
And Blazemeter offers some initial basic training also that is free. You can go register yourself, follow through their video and exercises like 10
This
days
I don't
or
know if you go through this videos. Is this of any
uh,
use? Advanced
yeah,
Jmeter.
there are definitely helpful. These videos are helpful, advanced and introductory.
These videos are helpful. So guys, okay, whenever you get a chance, if you wanted to dig deep dive, or maybe you wanted to see more, I think these will be good videos that you can look into. Okay, so you went through my course, you wanted to learn more, you wanted to explore more, maybe you can look at this one. I don't know how much more they will add, how much more they are adding, okay, other than
They
what
will
I
add less, not more, to be frank. Basically, they will try to throw some dots and they ask you to connect these dots. At least you'll get familiar with that. But the live training, the advantage of live training is like you will get to know from scratch
Mhm.
to the how to apply in the everyday usage of Jmeter. And for live training advantage, what I'm seeing is the resource who wanted to learn Jmeter or LoadRunner, they don't have to be have a previous knowledge on that, because the way of the kind of level you are taking from to where, it is very 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 nice to have in the live sessions.
Okay, okay.
Because
Yeah.
sometimes we get deviate to many different tracks, which is good for everybody's sake, and I know it is not efficient in the sense of the time and everything, but it will give some mileage for long run.
Okay, okay. Okay, so people are saying that on the WhatsApp it's not coming. Okay, let me check. Okay, uh, okay, some of them. Okay, all of them have come over, right? I mean, I'm just checking my WhatsApp now. You didn't get all those links, guys? You didn't get all those links? Okay, let me send it, copy paste, and send it to you again. Okay, so this link you didn't get it. Okay, let me copy paste and send it to you again. Okay, so and this is the same link, okay, and this is the same link actually, to be honest, but again I'm sending it to you. Okay, so this is from the V skills. Okay, and then file, you're saying that this file is not uploaded, so let me send it to you again. Okay, let me send it to you again. Okay, random. Okay, so this is what it is. Let me send it, and then okay, yeah. Okay, now we should get it, guys. Earlier there was a proxy, maybe because of that you didn't get it as told. Yeah, now we should get it. Okay, so can we wrap up, guys? Can we wrap up? I think now, just now I gave you Diva. You should get it now. Okay, just now I've uploaded. Earlier, maybe as you said, the proxy was there, but now I've just. Okay, we should get it. Okay,
uh,
so hope
Kumar,
you're learning more.
a quick help I needed on one of my other system where I have installed the Jmeter and set up the certificate and the proxy. On my personal laptop, I am able to, record everything. It's just other laptop I have, it's creating some issues. The errors what I'm getting are related to the
Okay,
proxy, I guess. I can share the screen if you want.
so come again. I mean, the voice was not clear, Abdul. I couldn't follow you.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry.
There seems to be a lot of background noise.
Let me turn off one of my system.
I think there are, yeah, two systems you're on. So you're saying that on your personal laptop you got it to working, but on your work laptop you have issues?
Yeah,
Abdul?
can you hear me now, Kumar?
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
So, hello. Can you hear me, Kumar?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead,
Okay.
quickly.
So, the laptop what I'm on now, I have installed a Jmeter and I have tried recording something,
Uh-huh.
and and uh, it is recording some samplers.
Uh-huh.
If you can see here.
Okay.
So I'm getting this error here. I think it is related to the proxy. I'm not sure. Its connection getting reset here, and
Which application is it? Some random application?
no, it's our JPEG store.
Demo Caker, from Demo Caker itself?
Yeah.
Okay, let me take the controls. Okay,
Sure.
let's start recording from the scratch. Can we do that quickly?
Yeah, sure. You want me to clear everything?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me look at the script. You're showing me the log, right? Let me look at the script.
Yeah. You want to take the control?
Okay. Okay, this is the script, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's clean all the samplers and then let's quickly record it once to see like what is getting recorded. Yeah. Let's go ahead and record it.
It didn't clean. Okay. So let me see what is I have for a proxy here. Oh, okay. If I switch the proxy, I think it's going to disconnect the WebEx. I mean, GoToMeeting also.
So
Hold
don't
on.
try with Octoperf. Octoperf has enabled some SSLs and all that. Try to do it with Demo Caker.
Yeah, demo caker only, I guess. I think I have.
No, you are doing
No?
Octoperf.
Okay.
Okay.
Demo
Can
caker,
you
is
try
it?
Demo Caker
Okay,
tomorrow?
I'll try that. Yeah, demo caker, I'll try.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.